Have you ever walked into a room full of people and still felt completely alone? Maybe you're surrounded by coworkers, friends, even family. Everyone is talking, laughing, sharing stories, but inside there's this quiet feeling that you're slightly outside of it all. Like you're observing life rather than fully part of it. You smile, you nod, you participate. But something inside whispers, "I don't really belong here." If you've ever felt that way, you're not alone. Many people carry this silent feeling through their entire lives, and the strange part is it can happen even when everything on the outside looks perfectly normal. So why does this feeling exist? Why do some people feel like outsiders in places where they should feel at home? To understand that, we have to look at how belonging actually forms. Belonging is not just about being physically present with others. It's about feeling safe enough to be seen as you truly are. And for many people, that safety didn't fully exist growing up. As children, we learn very quickly what parts of ourselves are welcome and what parts are not. Maybe expressing anger made adults uncomfortable. Maybe sadness was dismissed with phrases like, "You're fine," or "Stop crying." Maybe curiosity or independence was labelled as disobedience. When certain emotions or behaviours weren't accepted, we adapted. We learned to hide parts of ourselves. We became quieter, tougher, funnier, more responsible or more agreeable, whatever helped us stay connected to the people around us. And at the time, that adaptation worked. It helped us maintain relationships, avoid rejection, and feel some sense of security. But there's a hidden cost. When you learn to hide parts of yourself to stay connected, you never experience what it feels like to be accepted fully. Even if people like you quietly wonder, would they still like me if they saw everything? So you continue performing the version of yourself that feels safest. Over time, that performance becomes automatic. You adjust your opinions slightly to match the group. You laugh when everyone else laughs. You avoid saying the thing that might make the room uncomfortable. And slowly a strange paradox forms. You're surrounded by people, but they're interacting with a version of you that isn't completely real. That's where the feeling of not belonging begins. Because belonging requires authenticity. And authenticity requires vulnerability. If people are connecting with a version of you that's filtered, edited, or restrained, a part of your mind knows it. It whispers, "They don't really know me." And if they don't really know you, how could they truly accept you? So the sense of distance remains. There's another reason this feeling appears. Sometimes it comes from awareness. As people grow older and more reflective, they begin noticing patterns in conversations, relationships, and environments that once felt normal. You may start seeing superficiality where you once saw connection. You may notice how often people avoid honest conversations. You may realize that many interactions revolve around roles rather than real understanding. When that awareness grows, it can make certain environments feel strangely hollow. You're still present, but you feel out of sync. Not because you're better than others, but because your priorities have shifted. You're searching for depth, honesty, and real understanding. And those things are rarer than we'd like to admit. There's also another factor: identity. Many people spend decades playing roles: provider, worker, caretaker, problem solver. Those roles become their primary way of connecting with others. But as life evolves, those roles may start to feel limiting. You might realize you've spent years fulfilling expectations rather than expressing who you truly are. When that realization happens, the world can suddenly feel unfamiliar. It's like, waking up in the middle of a play and realizing you've been acting a script that someone else wrote. The roles around you stay the same, but you've started questioning them. That questioning can create a temporary feeling of not belonging. But sometimes that feeling is not a problem. Sometimes it's a signal. It's your inner voice saying the environments or relationships around you may not fully reflect who you're becoming. And that's an important distinction. Feeling like you don't belong doesn't always mean something is wrong with you. Sometimes it means you're evolving. It means your mind is searching for something deeper, more authentic, more aligned. The mistake many people make is assuming they must force themselves to fit in. So they silence their thoughts. They lower their curiosity. They avoid asking deeper questions. But that approach only strengthens the feeling of disconnection. Because belonging is not created by shrinking yourself to match the environment. It's created by finding or, building spaces where your full self is welcome. And that process takes courage. It means allowing yourself to speak honestly even when your voice shakes. It means admitting your interests, your doubts, your perspectives without constantly filtering them. At first, that can feel risky. You might worry about being misunderstood. You might fear rejection. But something interesting happens when you start showing up more authentically. Some people will drift away. But others, often the ones who were quietly waiting for the same level of honesty, will move closer. Real belonging is not about being accepted by everyone. It's about being known by the right people. People who don't just tolerate your presence, but understand your perspective. And sometimes the journey toward that kind of belonging begins with a period of feeling like an outsider. That stage is uncomfortable, but it's also transformative. It's the moment when you stop measuring your value by how easily you blend into the crowd. Instead, you begin asking deeper questions. Who am I when I'm not performing? What conversations actually matter to me? What environments allow me to breathe freely? Those questions lead to a different kind of life. One where belonging is no longer something you chase by adjusting yourself to fit in. It becomes something that emerges naturally when you stop hiding who you are. So if you've ever felt like you don't belong, consider this possibility. Maybe the feeling isn't telling you that you're broken. Maybe it's telling you that you're ready for something more real. Because true belonging doesn't come from blending in. It comes from being seen without needing to disappear first.